Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty unique, actually. It's a video from a creator, and he covers a lot. His book, YouTube, poker lessons, even just reflections on life. Our mission, really, is to pull out the key insights from all these different threads. We want to connect his thoughts on wealth, creating stuff online, learning, and importantly, time. See how these maybe aren't so separate after all. It should give you, hopefully, a fresh way to think about life, money, growth. Okay, let's unpack this. So let's jump right in with his ideas on wealth and finance. He starts off showing his book, A Stoic Samurai. Got it in French and English versions. That title, A Stoic Samurai, is kind of atomic, like fundamental. And samurai, discipline, mastery. It sets the stage for his philosophy. But then he pivots really fast from the book to some, well, pretty strong views on money. He's even planning a video, he says, about the probabilities of escaping wage slavery. That's his term for the sort of typical work, earn, spend cycle.
Yeah, wage slavery, it's intentionally provocative language, isn't it?
Right.
It challenges that standard view of employment.
Exactly. And his main point on that, he thinks the odds of getting rich, truly rich, are actually pretty slim unless, and this is the key part, unless you become a really skilled investor. That's quite a statement to kick things off.
It absolutely is. And what's interesting is how he immediately ties that into a pretty sharp critique of the financial advice industry. He doesn't hold back. He basically says that genuine financial know-how is rare. He calls most advisors broken records.
Broken records. What does he mean by that?
He argues they don't trade themselves. They don't really have deep market insight. They just, repeat the same generic advice over and over. Like, they haven't got that practical, hands-on feel for how markets actually work.
So it's a lack of real-world experience he's pointing to.
Precisely. He digs deeper, saying they often don't get crucial stuff like proper risk management, how to actually protect your capital, or technical analysis, using charts and data to understand market movements. He sees those as essential skills.
Okay, so if the advisors are broken records, what's his solution?
Well, it boils down to self-reliance and skepticism. Be skeptical of the standard advice, rely on yourself. He really pushes this idea. For him, investing isn't just an option. He says it's the only statistically viable way out of that wage slavery trap he talks about.
Wow, the only way. That's strong.
It is. So the core idea here, from his perspective, is that standard financial advice misses the boat. Because it's about accumulation, maybe, but not about building the active skills and critical thinking needed for real financial independence. It really pushes you, the listener, to question that conventional wisdom, doesn't it? To maybe dig deeper yourself.
It definitely makes you think. But okay, if true knowledge is rare, how does he suggest you get it? Does he point towards, I don't know, specific methods?
He implies it's hard work, like deep self-study and practice, like mastering anything complex. He keeps mentioning risk management and technical analysis, so the hint is you need to learn that stuff directly. Dive into the mechanics yourself. Become an active player, a skilled investor, not just someone taking generic advice.
Right, become skilled, not just informed. That need for sort of independent thinking and maybe skepticism, it carries over into his next topic, doesn't it? His own content creation journey. This part I found really compelling. He talks about his YouTube channel. It's nearly been a year, he says. And get this, still totally unmonetized. No ads, no donations, a whole year of making stuff.
That's a long time to work without any financial return. What's his take on that?
He sounds pretty frustrated, honestly, especially with the YouTube algorithm. He explains how it shows your video to a tiny audience first. And if they don't bite, if the engagement's low, likes, comments, watch time, boom, it just stops showing it.
Like a quick trial, and if it doesn't immediately fly, it's grounded.
Exactly. But he keeps going. 0 donations, but he continues. Why? He says it's intellectual curiosity, keeping his mind active. Yeah. He's realistic, though, admits that unless something goes viral, growing on YouTube is just a constant uphill battle.
And that personal struggle, that grind, it connects to something deeper he talks about, right? About truth and speaking out. Yeah, if we link this up, his own creative struggles seem to feed into this wider concern about, well, truth and expression in society today. He mentions wanting to tackle big questions like why there's so much visible evil in the world. That's a heavy topic.
Wow, yeah, but then he hesitates.
Right. He immediately says he fears repercussions. If he names names or goes too deep, he worries about the pushback.
So this tension, wanting to say important things but feeling constrained, what kind of unspeakable truths is he hinting at? Does he give any clues?
He doesn't get specific in this clip, no. But the implication is there are topics, maybe systemic issues or critiques of powerful narratives that are just too risky to touch. He suggests there are things you just can't say. And he even adds that trying to stay neutral can get you in trouble too. Backlash from all sides.
So it's not just about the algorithm ignoring you, it's about the potential cost of being heard if you say certain things.
Exactly. It highlights the emotion of the psychological load of creating content, especially when you pour effort in and get silence or worse, face potential censure for speaking your mind. It really brings out that tension between wanting free speech and the reality of social critique today. It's not just about YouTube, it's about what we can even discuss openly. That's a sobering thought. Makes you think about the choices creators make. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From algorithms and truth, we go to something very concrete, a poker lesson. Yeah, it's quite a change of pace. He talks about a session with his coach, teacher Norman, and he mentions he was feeling under the weather, but still wanted the lesson. Shows dedication, I guess.
Definitely. And how's the poker going for him?
Well, he's really open about his struggles. Says he dropped below break even, lost money. He puts it down to a few things. Poker variance, the luck factor, short-term swings, also some boom pot mistakes, playing big hands badly, maybe too aggressively, and just some stupid decisions, his words. He's quite self-critical.
But how's his attitude about it? Is he discouraged? That's the interesting part. Despite the losses, he seems remarkably positive, resilient. He keeps framing failure as just a lesson, a chance to learn.
That's a great mindset for learning anything tough. And this poker stuff, it offers wider insights, doesn't it, about learning itself?
Absolutely. It's a perfect case study for skill acquisition. They were working on something specific, big blind defense ranges.
Right. Strategies for when you're forced to bet the big blind. Sounds technical.
It is, and the creator admits finding it really hard to actually use these strategies in a real game. Why? Well, partly limited hands played, not enough practice yet, but also unpredictable opponents. People making aggressive raises, messing up the textbook scenario.
So the theory is one thing, but applying it under pressure against real people, that's the hard part.
Exactly. And this leads into a really key point. Real learning in poker takes months, not days. Months. It's not about just getting the rules. It requires huge hand volume, playing thousands and thousands of hands to really internalize it all, to adapt on the fly.
So it's the sheer repetition, the volume, that bridges theory and practice.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Without playing enough hands, the theory just stays, well, theoretical.
Yeah.
It hasn't been tested and integrated through experience. This whole poker section, it just perfectly illustrates that mastery in anything. Poker, investing, coding, whatever, needs patience. It needs resilience when you hit those downswings. And it needs consistent effort over a long time. It really makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? How do you approach that months, not days reality in your own learning, especially when things get tough?
Yeah, that patience piece is huge. It's rarely quick, is it? Okay, let's move to the final section. This one feels more reflective, more about life philosophy, maybe? Valuing time, choosing what you consume. It starts kind of randomly. His poker teacher, Norman, recommended a TV show called Adolescence.
Okay. What's it about?
He describes it as a UK psychological crime drama. Apparently, it's technically clever, filmed with one long take per episode, deals with heavy themes. School violence, moral questions. And interestingly, he mentions it references Andrew Tate and red pill ideology.
So it's touching on some very current, potentially controversial cultural topics.
Seems like it. And while he notes the artistry, the technical skill, it leads him into this broader skepticism about just consuming modern content generally.
Skepticism? In what way? Well, linking it up, this skepticism feeds right into his thoughts on getting older, on time running out. It's quite profound. He says he finds himself less tolerant of repetitive content. He uses zombie movies as an example. Like, he's seen it all before.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Kind of, yeah. He emphasizes that life is finite, limited. So he wants to focus his energy on work and self-development. He's making a very conscious choice about where his attention goes.
So as time feels more precious, the filter for what's worth it gets much tighter.
Exactly that. He actually uses the word regret. Regret over time wasted on content that doesn't feel valuable. And he adds another layer of physical decline. As you age, there are things you just physically can't do anymore, even if you had the money, which makes time feel even more valuable, right?
That really hits home, the irreplaceability of time.
It does. So the insight here isn't just about finances anymore. It's about the ultimate currency, time. and the freedom to use it meaningfully. It brings up that struggle versus meaning theme again. It's a call, really, for you, the listener, to think carefully. What are you giving your precious attention to? Does it actually contribute to your growth, your well-being?
Okay.
It's about intentional living, conscious consumption, because as he points out, you don't get that time back.
Wow. Okay, so we've really covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From his pretty blunt take on finance and advisors, through the struggles of creating online content and dealing with algorithms, to the sheer persistence needed to learn something complex like poker, and ending on these deep thoughts about time and how finite it is. It's like a journey through someone trying to figure out how to navigate it all: money, meaning, skills, life itself.
Absolutely. When you put all these pieces together, the finance critique, the YouTube grind, the poker lessons, the time reflections, it paints a picture. It's a picture of someone relentlessly chasing meaning, chasing knowledge, chasing self-mastery in a world that often feels, well, complicated. His reflections push us to be skeptical, yes, but also persistent, to put in the volume needed for mastery, and maybe most importantly, to be fiercely protective of what truly matters.
So that struggle versus meaning, it runs through everything.
It really does. How we make our money, how we speak our truth, how we learn new things, and fundamentally how we spend the limited time we have. So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. Take a hard look right now. What are you choosing to give your attention to? Your time, your energy? And does it truly align with what you value most for your own path?
Welcome. I have a book lesson in a couple of minutes. I want to introduce the session to you. The first thing I'll do, I'll show you my book, and then I have a little chat with you, and then we're gonna talk to my book teacher. Let me quickly show you my book. This is the French version of my book, and if you wanted, the link is in the description, and I'll give you the QR code. If you pause now, you can have the QR code and get directly to the page. This is the English version of my book. It's called Stoic Samurai, and here's the QR code. If you want to get it, you can easily do it. If not, the link is in the description. Now, let's talk a little about my life before my poker lesson starts. So first, I want to tell you that I'm planning to make a dedicated video, where I talk about probabilities and the chances of getting rich, of making some money. If you want to escape wage slavery, and the chances you have, and it's quite hard, except if you know how to invest and you have a good financial advisor, which you will find nowhere except the guy who is just talking to you. I'm sorry to say that, but I have never seen any good financial advisor, so how could I recommend any? They don't trade, they don't take position, they know very little about the markets. They are just like a record that says the same thing over and over. Some into crypto, and others always recommend gold and so on, but they are broken records. They always say the same. They know very little, if any, about trading, about technical analysis, and they have no idea how to make risk management. But except if you have a financial advisor, or you on your own are an excellent analyst, except then it's very hard. But investing is the only thing that gives you a better chance. Everything else is very hard. Everything else, your chances are very low. I want to do a dedicated video on that. I already have the bullet points in my smart glasses, and I'm gonna go for a work for that, but I didn't find the time until now. As soon as I find the time to do that, I will. And I have another project that I might or might not talk about. The other one is a philosophical question, why you see so much evil in this world nowadays, to talk about that. But the thing is, even if I try to not attack anybody, even if I try to be as neutral as possible, well, there's always a risk that people realize who I'm talking about and what the real issue is. And if I do that, then there will be sanctions, because you cannot say whatever you want. I mean, yes, you can if you are brainwashed slave and you go for Trump, Kamala, or any of the other nonsense. That you can say. But to really point out why there's so much evil in this world and why they embrace it so openly, if you do that and people know who you're talking about, well, I don't think it will fly long. You get very hardly sanctioned. And my life is hard enough like this. I'm working very hard on my YouTube channel. It's not 1 year now, but it's close to 1 year. And I couldn't even monetize it in all that time. It's very hard. The algorithm goes like this. When I produce something, it gives it best case scenario, to a small group of people, like 5 or 10. And if they zap, if they don't watch, if they don't interested, then he stops recommending it. And then it's game over. There my work ends. It's very hard. And I would appreciate some donation or anything that helps. But I have received none. And it doesn't matter. I'm not going to starve to death. But the idea is I spend a lot of time, I put a lot of effort in it. And at the beginning, the only reason why I did it is it's a way to be intellectually active and to discover new things. That's the only reason I did it. And since it's interesting for me, I thought that somebody else could find it interesting. But it's a very long journey and a hard journey. Unless you're lucky to be one out of 4.7 million, one guy who gets viral and everybody watches and everybody loves. Then from one day to the next, he has 50K subscriber. Unless you are that, and then the people keep watching, unless you're that, it's very hard. I'm not here to complain, but you get the idea. When I find the time, I'll go for a walk and I'll talk about the subjects and I'll see if I want to again work on eggs. Because when you want to talk about something, even if it's just an intellectual thought, if you want to talk of something, well, as long as you are in the lines, as long as you say what they expect you to say, then it's all right. But when you start having a critical way of looking at the world and doing some analysis and stuff that everybody could find out on his own, well, then things change very fast. I will try to do my best. And now let's see what my poker teacher is up to and what we will do today with him. And it would be great if you like and subscribe, because I always forget to say that. So if you could do that, it would be awesome. Let's go. Hello, Norman.
Sorry I'm late.
No worries. How are you doing?
I'm actually a little bit sick since yesterday, but I thought a little bit of work would be good. Hopefully there won't be any big problems. Oh, my voice sounds different.
I don't hear the difference much. Don't worry
Okay.
about that. Are you in a different place? Because you have your earphones. Normally you don't use any earphones.
I'm not in a different place. I have started using earphones the past few weeks. I don't need even one.
You don't know why you start using it?
Yes, just one lesson I decided to try with earphones, and I was like, that's quite nice. I think I hear more clearly the other person that way. That's, I think, why I stayed with it. But maybe I'll go back to without earphones sometime.
Okay, no worries.
How are you?
I'm fine. I've dropped under my break-even level once more, and we'll see how it goes. I think it's because of the variance in poker, because I did probably a lot of stupid mistakes, and also because of the new boom pot where you have to see a couple of hands. I think all that combined did put me again below break-even. But it's not the end of the world. And even if I lose my bankroll, it would be a great lesson. No worries there. I only have one hand marked for today. If you want, we take a look at this. And for the rest, we can do what you find appropriate.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
If you want to talk about anything before that, let me know. And we do that.
I think one main topic last time was at the big blind defending ranges, which I sent you as well. Did you try to defend more hands from the big blind, and how did that go?
I try to pay attention when I'm on the big blind, but I cannot tell you how it goes because it's not big because I'm on the big blind that I will play 60% of the hands or something like that. It depends what they do. If they go all in or if they raise big, well, then I won't. I hadn't had a lot of experience with it, and I cannot say if it is any good or bad for now. I think it will take me weeks or even months until I know, because I'm not playing like mad every hand, but I look, and if they are limping or if they go just for 2 or 2.5, then I would call. But for now, I hadn't many occasions to do it and see how it goes. I think that anyways, even if I see a flop, there's a high chance that I will have to fold. There's nothing spectacular that will happen. And how many hands do I have to play until I see anything? A lot. And when will I ever play much hands? I have no idea. Maybe if I get immortal, people think that we will get life extension. Maybe then I will manage to play enough hands.
Right, pocket sevens.
Yeah, I did fold. What do you think?
I think it's a fine option.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
That went quickly. I would have done the same there. Okay, I think how we'll set it up is I will send something to you and we will work on something called the median hand.
We talked about that already.
I know you're a fan of movies. I watched this TV show recently called Adolescence. If you've not heard of it, then it's had 4 episodes, and each episode was filmed in one take. The whole 1 hour TV show episode was one continuous scene, and they did it very well.
Is it something like a theater piece?
I mean, it reminds a bit theater, but actually, once you watch, it feels like a normal TV show. They did a lot of preparation and did it very smoothly and then just moved the camera around. Sometimes the camera like followed people, then they put it on a drone and then the camera flew somewhere else and then continued there. And then sometimes the camera was on a car. They put a lot of effort in that it went around different places as well, the camera. But it does remind a little theater, and for actors, it was quite difficult. You can imagine for actors, if you make a TV show and you mess something up in minute 50, then the whole episode would be ruined.
But it is all scripted. They all know what they are going to say and what they're going to do, how they're going to work. It's all scripted.
Exactly.
And there were no mess ups. Nobody did anything wrong.
I think there's probably a few things in the episodes. I think I heard somewhere that there was some things where like the actor was yawning and then the other actor said, "Am I boring you?" And that was not in the script. They just reacted to what was happening there. And probably I would imagine there's a few more errors that can be in an episode like that. But I didn't notice that stuff. But I'm sure if someone's very deliberately looking, I would imagine there's easier for there to be some errors that happened with filming for the actors. The topic is like a murder trial, basically, and has to do with school children and topic like that. And actually has to do a little bit with some Andrew Tate and red pill and these sort of topics. If you're
YouTubers.
I'm not sure if there's
You said Andrew Tate. Did you not say that?
yeah, I guess he's a YouTube.
Yeah, he is. I don't follow him.
Me neither. Well, anyhow, I know you recommended me a few movies to watch. If you want to watch something completely, I mean, I think that's very unique, then I would recommend that. It came out this year.
You enjoyed it.
I mean, it felt somehow very intense that there were no cuts and scenes changing. I think it's a good TV show, yes, and it's so projected. It came out, I think, this March. It's projected to win a lot of awards as well, like Emmys and things like that.
It's a Hollywood production.
I don't think so. It seemed like it's produced in the UK. It had British actors. I'm not sure. British television psychological crime drama.
Okay. And they did a shout out for Andrew Tate. So he's a big YouTuber. He gets even more views. Nice for him.
I don't think it was a positive shout out. I think it was more in terms of negative.
Every kind of publicity is always good publicity, because even if you say something bad, there are people who get interested and then they look at what you do, and some will stick and will subscribe. Every publicity is always good publicity.
And here I am talking about the TV show, right? So I'm doing their publicity for them, actually.
I know, but it's interesting. If I come across, maybe I take a look at it. I really stopped with movies and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately. Because I feel like with age, I have less tolerance. I always get the impression that they waste my time, and it's the same thing done over and over. I don't see really something new, like zombie movies. How many zombie movies do you want to watch your entire life? There's a moment where even if there's maybe a new funny Japanese zombie movie, but there's a moment where you have seen it so many times that you're just tired of it. I'll just realize that my life on Earth is limited. And already now there are stuffs that I can barely do anymore because of my age. Before I could do them physically, but they were quite expensive. I did not. That I might be able to afford them a little more. Well, I'm old and I can barely do them anymore. And that's just some little stuff. If I waste time by watching TV shows that in reality bore me, that I find annoying, I think it's just a waste of time. I would just like to be able to keep working and do the best I can for the couple of years that I might have left and hope that at the end I can look back and be proud of what I did. I think that's much more important in my case than to watch something that I might consider a waste of time. I don't have the impression that the production we get in movies did go up. I think it peaked in the 80s, 90s. But since the 2000, I think it's going down really bad. I haven't seen anything particularly interesting for a long time. I just don't bother with it. But if really I'm bored and I want to waste an afternoon or a day with it, I might take a look. But I know that I will go to like 200 movies and I'll watch 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 50 minutes, say boring, boring, waste of time, boring, boring, waste of time. And at the end, I haven't seen one single movie that I want to see. If it's just me zapping everything I see, that gets very annoying too. Thank you for the recommendation. What's it called again?
Adolescent.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind, and if I watch it, I'll let you know. Thank you, Norman, for talking about it.
All right. And what you said, yes, I can understand that. I sometimes have felt like this. All right, with this tool, let's take a board and let's just start working with this. First, at the bottom of this chart, there's an empty stair. Click on it and choose an opening position. I guess let's choose something like under the gun +1, which is the opening position. That's if the first player in your game, their hand, they should be quite tight. Does this look similar to your range under the gun +1, or would you like to modify it?
It looks very close. Now, for me, because this is 9 players and I'm playing against 8 players. For me, it's larger. This is also in, this is also in, this is half in, and then there's something a little here and a little here. But we must remember, we are not talking about the same, since this is a 9 player. A 9 player,
We are talking about the same.
it says max 9.
Yes, but we chose position under the gun +1.
There's an under the gun 0. This is a 9.
Be on a 9 player, as if the first on an 8 player.
How come nothing changes? No, it changes. They're all the same. There's no
These
change.
two
The first two are the same.
looks like
Okay.
it. All right. Basically, a range someone could open early position. Now, let's give you a hand like pocket 8. Whole cards, choose pocket 8s. Or actually, let's choose a random board. Let's make it even more interesting like that. Okay, now, wow. Why am I laughing about this random board?
Because I made 3 of the kind.
Yes, that's a very, very strong board for 8. But let's start with this board. Now, could you remove, I want to discuss what happens on the flop. If you find the 4 and the 7 distracting, you can remove them for now. We can add them back later. Just the turn and river cards, you could remove them for now. As the first thing we see is the flop. Just right off the bat, if early position range opened, something we chose on the left, and you have pocket 8s, how comfortable would you feel seeing this board?
Which position is open? Can you just repeat me the details?
One of the first positions on an 8-player table opened, and you defended the big blind.
On the big blind.
And you called pre-flop, they're open.
It's just I want to know, because we select under the gun too. But that has nothing to do with my position. It's just a random guy. We don't care who it is.
This is your
right now.
opponent's position. This is your opponent's position.
And I'm on the big blind. That's what you're telling
You're
me.
on the big blind in this example, yes.
I have to act first.
Exactly. What would come to your mind knowing you have one opponent and this board and you having this hand?
That I have an extremely strong hand and I should go at least for half pot and not much more because I would scare him off. But if I go for half pot, will he call? If he has king ace, why would he not call? King ace offsuit, why would he not call? I think there's a lot of hands he could call. Would he call with ace 5 suited? If I go for half pot, I think there's a chance. Maybe he's hoping for a straight. I don't know. I would go for half pot and I would be comfortable putting half pot on the table. If I do nothing, the issue is he might just check, and keeping him checking might be good if he then hits something and puts a lot of big blinds on the table. But with that hand, I would like to go all in. And if I don't start betting, it will never happen.
Well, if they have pocket queens, then it can happen even if you don't start betting, right? So
But if they have pocket queens, then they should have showed me a lot of interest already pre-flop. Pocket queens, I don't know how it went. On the gang 2, did he just put 2 on the table? Was he limping? I don't know. But pocket queens, that's a very strong hand.
I have a few questions here. One is, what's the strongest possible hand on this?
I think it's my hand.
That is correct. My second question is, what's the strongest possible hand that your opponent can have on this board?
My opponent. The strongest he can have is pocket aces.
Okay, why not pocket 8s or pocket 6s or pocket 2s?
Because I already have 8s. He doesn't play 2s and he doesn't play 6.
That's a correct answer. Aces is their strongest hand. Now, what do you think their average hand would be based on all the hands they could have? If aces is their best hand, well, what would be the worst hand they could have on this board? What's like the biggest hand?
Ace 4 suited. No.
He can have worse than that.
9, 8 suited.
That's a pair of 8s. I think he can have worse than that.
10, 9.
That's a straight draw to a 7. 10, 9 is a pretty good answer, but I wouldn't choose that because it's a straight draw to a 7. I would choose something with no straight draw for the weakest hand.
Okay, then let's go for Queen 9 suited.
That's pretty good, although I would go one lower than Queen 9.
Jack 9 suited.
I would go Jack 9, and which suit I wouldn't choose for the weakest hand.
A heart.
Exactly. So if he has just Jack 9 of spades or clubs or diamonds, then that's a pretty weak hand on this board. Or Queen 9, like you mentioned. If the best is aces and the weaker stuff is Jack 9, Jack 10, Queen 9, what could be in the middle? What could be his middling, median, or average hand here that your opponents might be holding?
King Jack suited.
I think you have pretty good instincts. I think that's a pretty good answer. We'll figure that out a moment later. Now, my last quick question is, how often do you think your opponent would have a flush draw here? Would it be 1 in 2 times, 1 in 3 times, 1 in 5 times, 1 in 7 times? In your mind, how dangerous would it be that they have a flush draw at this moment?
I'm hesitating between 1 in 5 or 1 in 10. Well, let's go in the middle and choose 1 in 7.
Okay, again, not a bad first answer for this, although I can already hint that it's probably closer to 1 in 10 than 1 in 5. But 1 in 7 is actually not too bad of an answer. Now, let's look into the actual numbers of what the opponent has. For that, click on flop and let's focus on the right-hand column now. Starting from the top is the strongest possible hands. And how many rows down we have to go until the zero stop?
We have to go 1 pair, then the 0 stop.
On this board, there is actually no 2 pair, 3 of a kind, straight flushes, full houses. None of these hands the opponent can have at this moment. Now, this could change on turn and river, but at this moment, the best hand can be the 1 pair aces, like you said. Now, if we look at how often the opponent does have a pair here, what's the percent for that?
30% of the time.
And the pairs the opponent have are split into 4 subsections. What kind of a pair the opponent has the most often on this board?
An overpair.
Okay, can you name me the strongest and the weakest overpair the opponent can have?
9 is the weakest and ace is the strongest.
Good. Then after that, the opponent can have top pair. Could you name me how they could have top pair?
Then they have 1 8.
Okay, which would their other card be? There should be at least 2 examples of top pair the opponent can have.
It says top pair, second pair, and weak pair, but you're not talking about that. You're just talking about top pair. So,
Yes, just top pair. Just what would their full hand be? Top.
okay. I have to find an 8 he plays. It would be ace 8 suited or 9 8 suited.
Good. That's the correct answer. And we see that the percent for top pair is quite low. So why is it so difficult for the opponent to have these hands?
Because there are not many 8s he plays. And I already have 2 8s. His chance of having an 8, it's close to 0. I know it says
Yeah,
1.4, but that's so low. We don't have to worry about that.
Actually, in this case, if someone said they have top pair, you could guess which suit their hand has. Could you guess what suit their top pair would be?
It would be one of the aces that is not there. We have a heart, we have a spades, and we have a club. It would be a diamond.
Okay, good. It would have to be 2 diamonds, as those ace-8 and 9-8s are suited hands. So it's 9 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, or ace of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. So that's correct. Now, second pair, the opponent has a few more times. What would be the example here counted as second pair?
He would have a 6.
Okay, which sort of a 6 does the opponent play?
I don't see any 6 he plays.
Exactly. Actually, something else is considered this time second pair. The hint would be it's lower than an 8, but it's not a 6.
It would be pocket 7s.
Good. So pocket 7s. And if he played a 6, like a6, 7-6, then that would also be second pair. It's just this time the opponent doesn't play a 6, so only the pocket 7s considered there. And weak pair would be anything lower than second pair. It would be pocket 5s, pocket 4s, pocket 3s, or any 2. Ace 2, king 2, 7-2, 6-2. Why is there no weak pairs?
What do you mean with vice no weak pair? He doesn't play any low cards, but I don't understand the question weak pair.
Weak pairs anything lower than second pair. So why does it have 0% for those?
Because he doesn't play anything lower than pocket 7s. There's no other pair he can make, just no option left.
Good. Now you see, next row for his mate hand is a high card hand, and that's 70.3%. And a big chunk of those high card hands are ace high hands, 43.2%. If the opponent doesn't have ace high card, what else high card hand they could have?
King high card.
Okay. Any other examples?
Queen high card.
Okay. And jack high and 10, but yes.
But he doesn't play a lot.
That's true. That wouldn't be very common. Most common is the ace high. Second common, king high. All right, to do a little recap what we've been doing here. It seems to me you found it quite easy to answer all the questions I asked you. And maybe I could even say that this exercise has been boring for you because you understood all these statistics very quickly so far. Would that be a correct interpretation?
No, I think it's very good for my brain if I go through those statistics and I realize that kind of stuff. But I think that it is easy for me when I have the answer on the screen. But when I'm playing, would I know that in this case, probably he has an ace high? Would I know it? Maybe. I think if we do that kind of exercise from time to time, it's not that it's boring. I think it will all get much faster and I will be able to answer your question faster. And if I do that while we talk, well, maybe that will help me when I'm playing. I don't think it is boring or a waste of time. I think it's awesome to do that. The questions weren't so hard that I could not answer any of them. That's also true. You're correct, but it doesn't have to be too hard. If it's too hard, then I might give up. I'm just kidding. But you get the idea. It's a good balance. Sometimes it's good to do just a little exercise, even if it's not the toughest thing you will do.
Yes, that's good to hear. And you're right that in game, it will be much more difficult to know that the opponent has a pair 30% or high card 70% and all this. But part of the reason why this exercise is good is once you do more and more of this, it's easier to remember some of these numbers or I would summarize it as we're taking a deep dive into looking at one specific board and what the opponent has on this board. And hopefully through this deep dive, we'll get easier in the future to properly evaluate if your hand is good or not. Like in this case, you're not always going to have pocket 8, right? You could also have something a bit weaker like pocket 7s or pocket 5s. And with exercises like that, it's easier to know if you should be worried if you had pocket 5s or pocket 7s. In this case, should you be very worried with pocket 5s or pocket 7s? How does it look?
I should be much more worried, of course. If he starts betting, I should be very prudent and probably fold. But I'm not saying that because I know the numbers, like what he will have for one pair and so on. It's not because of that, just because of my experience of the game. I'm answering.
Yes, I think what you noticed is not every hand here will start betting. And if they do start betting, then it's more likely that they do have a pair, then they would have ace high or king high or queen high, something like that.
I don't expect him to bet even with ace queen suited because he has nothing on this board. So I don't expect him to bet. I expect him to just to check. If he was aggressive pre-flop, then he should do a continuation bet with ace queen suited. But if not, I expect him to check. You said there are a lot of overcards he could have and he would not bet them. That's what you said.
Well, I think that could be your experience.
Okay, then what did you say?
It could be something similar, that if they have ace 10, if they have king jack, if they have queen jack, they might not bet those hands. But if you bet yourself, you could make those hands fold and win the pot most of the time, even if you had pocket fives or sevens.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Now, one last thing I'd like to do with this board, I guess we could break it down as two last things. First, let's look at all the draws the opponent could have, which is the last section there. And then finally, let's find the average hand the opponent has, which you previously mentioned as something like king jack suited. In terms of draws, how often does he have flush draw then? I asked you that before.
Flush draws, he has them 11.5% of the time.
Very close to 1 in 9 times. That's why I said your answer of 1 in 7 was a pretty good answer. Okay. Then backdoor flush draws, he will have more often. What would he need for a backdoor flush draw?
Well, he probably has an overcard. He would need a 9 and a 10.
Flush draw. It's a flush draw.
Flush draw. I think he would need to have 2 hearts.
Actually, that would be classified as flush draw. That would just be a normal flush draw. But what's the difference with backdoor flush draw?
Oh, then he needs only 1 heart.
Exactly. Could you give me an example of a hand that could have a backdoor flush draw?
Any example? I think there can be a lot. You want me to give any example of that?
But it can't be a random example. There's not every hand qualifies, but there's a lot of examples you could give, yes.
He could have ace, jack offsuit, ace queen offsuit, ace king offsuit. Is that correct?
And then one of his cards would be what card?
A heart.
Exactly. Could he have a backdoor flush draw with pocket aces?
No.
What if one ace would be a heart in his aces?
Yes, he could have aces.
And have a backdoor flush draw. You're right that the suited hands, it's impossible to have one heart with a suited hand. But actually, he could have a backdoor flush draw with a suited hand. Can you figure out which way would that be? That's something different here. The hint would be it's not to do with hearts.
He needs 3 hearts to make a backdoor flush draw. If it's not 3 hearts, it cannot be a backdoor flush draw. If not, I don't understand the definition of backdoor flush draw.
But he can have another suit, 3 of those cards, and have a backdoor flush draw. You do understand the definition. It's just another way, not with hearts.
Okay. He could have 2 clubs. And if he has 2 clubs, any suited card or any pair will do.
Do you mean any pair?
Queen, queen, jack, jack, 10, 10.
Can he have 2 clubs with queen, queen, jack, jack, 10, 10?
Yes, but you don't call that a pair. What do you call that?
Can we
Pockets.
take one example? What's one example you're referring to?
Queen, queen.
A pocket pair.
Okay, pocket. You say pocket pair. You don't say pair. You say pocket pair. Okay, just because you didn't understand what I mean. I was using the wrong expression.
But a pair or pocket pair like queen, queen cannot be both clubs because there's only one queen with a club. Actually, a pocket pair is always an offsuited hand.
Yes, of course it is an offsuited hand. You are correct. He cannot have that, but he can have any suited hand, but just not a pocket pair. Just not a pocket pair.
Exactly. He can have most of the suited hands, not also any. He couldn't have ace-8 suited or 9-8 suited. Yes, most of the ace-king.
Yeah, the ace-8 suited he cannot have, and ace-9 suited.
He could.
2 clubs for 8-9 suited. 9 suited. Why are we talking about the 9 yet now?
I'm not sure. We can move on from this. Actually, one thing you could do here is if you use your right mouse button and click on a box, like for example, click on ace-8 suited, then it shows you the versions of ace-8 suited here. Although actually in this case, it's incorrect. It should only show diamonds, but it does have this feature. For example, if you click to the right click again for pocket queens. Then you see there are 6 different ways someone could have pocket queens. And it would be the heart spade, the club spade, diamond spade, club heart, diamond club. But just wanted to show you that that's not what we're gonna do now. Although sometime in the future we might use this tool.
I'm a little confused because we are talking about a backdoor flush door.
Exactly.
And you want to know how much backdoor flush door you can make with a diamond. Is that correct?
No. With a heart, right?
With a heart. There I see 1, 2, 3, 4 hearts with pocket queens.
Exactly. Only 3. The first one captures the other 3. You see the heart and a small box or rectangle. If you click on that one, then that means the other card can be any other version of it. Or please right click again on queens, and then you see clicking that now selected the other 3 boxes and
Yes.
the other 3 heart boxes.
Yes.
That's just a common selector there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Norman. Now I get it.
Good. Now, final thing on this board. Well, let's look at the other stuff under backdoor flush draws. There's these 4 letters OESD. Do you know what that could be? Maybe it's a French word. OSD.
No, it's not. It's maybe for overcard. I don't know. I'm not sure.
What that's referring to is open-ended straight draw.
Okay, open and straight draw.
Which would mean 4 cards in a row. Could you give me an example of what would be an open-ended straight draw on this board? Well, it says 0% next to it, right?
But I would still like to give ace 4. There's no straight we can make with ace 4 suited.
Not immediately. It wouldn't be 4 cards in a row. It wouldn't be an open-ended straight draw.
We need 2 more cards with ace 4 suited.
Could you give me an example of an open-ended straight draw, even if the opponent wouldn't be playing it? It's in the gray boxes. Is there any gray box that would put 4 cards in a row? There should be 2.
Can we take ace 3 suited?
No, that only puts 3 cards in a row. Ace, 2, and 3. Something that puts 4 cards in a row.
We cannot. With his cards, we cannot. But with any card, can we do it with any card? Yes, I think we can do it with any card. Maybe.
Let's start trying with the cards that are closest together on the board. Which cards are closest together?
A 2 and a 6.
That is incorrect. How many cards fit between 2 and a 6?
3 cards.
Okay. How many cards fit between 8 and a 6?
2 cards.
And actually, your answer was incorrect. How many cards fit between 8 and a 6?
I said 2, 6, 7. No, 7, 1 card between 6 and an 8. Just a 7.
How much closer is 8 to 6 compared to 6 to 2?
3 times closer.
3 times close. Could we make use of that 1 card gap to put 4 cards in a row if we could use any hand?
7, 9 suited would make 4 cards in a row.
That's good. It doesn't have to be suited. Could be off-suited 7, 9.
Yes,
okay?
Correct.
There's one more way other than 7, 9. It would be good if you used the 7 here. Now change the 9 to something else to get 4 cards in a row.
7, 5.
Very good. You found the 2 versions, 7, 5, 9, 7. Now, just to exemplify that, could you click on those boxes and see if the OSD percent would change then? Did the percent change?
Yes, it did.
That was the correct answer then. Now, I think we can remove the 7-5 as early position our opponent likely wouldn't play it. Then there's this row after OESD, which is called gut shot. Is that term familiar for you, gut shot? And you see there's actually 2.7% there, which means the opponent could have a gut shot. What is a gut shot? If you don't know, if we haven't discussed it, then that's fine as well.
No, we did talk about it. I just don't remember the real definition. I think it's a way to make a straight. Am I correct with that?
That is correct.
Is it like a backdoor flush?
Actually, gut shot is not a backdoor draw, because if it's backdoor draw, then we need 2 perfect cards. For example, if we have 1 heart, we need a heart on the turn and then heart on the river. That's a backdoor draw where we're 2 cards away. But with gut shot, we're actually 1 card away from a straight. It's just that it's a worse of a straight draw because it doesn't put 4 cards in a row. If we just look at the open-ended straight draw once more and you click on something like 7-5 or 9-7, if we take one moment with the open-ended straight draw, then there should be 2 ways something like 9-7 can make a straight. Which card on the turn would make a straight? And there should be 2 answers. What would put 5 cards in a row for 9-7?
For 9-7, what would put 5 cards in a row? A 10 and a 5.
Good. And for 7-5?
But why did I click on this? How does that help?
Just helps to, it didn't do something, it just as a reference point of what we're discussing, okay? Now,
But I don't need to answer the question. I don't need to click on this.
You don't actually need to click. I just thought it might help you with answering the question.
I don't.
I won't ask you to do that anymore. Then.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just when you do something, I try to understand why you do it. That's why I'm asking.
Why I recommend it is maybe it helps you if you look at the 9-7 cards when answering. I thought if you click on it, then it's easier to look at it.
It shows me that it's a suited hand, and it gives me the different suit it can be of. And apparently,
I didn't mean for you to right click. I just meant the normal click left, where you make it green. I meant that one.
Okay. Did you see the small pop-up window? Did you see that?
The one you have open.
Now it's closed. Now it's open.
You open it. I don't know why you do that.
But you can see it.
I can see it, yes.
Okay. I just don't know. Okay, great. Thank you, Norman. Now,
could you click away from 9-7? That pop-up window only matters for flushes. If it's diamonds or hearts. Now, 7-5 is another open-ended straight draw. What does 7-5 need to make a straight?
7-5. It needs a 4. You say it's an open-ended.
Yes, 2 ways it could make a straight.
It needs a 4 or a 9.
Good. So 9-7 needed a 10 or a 5, and 7-5 needs a 9 or a 4. So that's open-ended. Now, gut shot is where only one card helps. And in this case, to give you a clue, if you look at gut shot, there's a breakdown of what sort of gut shot is under there. Is it gut shot with a pair or gut shot with overcard?
It's gut shot with overcards.
That's your hint that it's a hand that's one card away from straight, but it uses overcards for this example. It is actually a hand we have talked about today, although we've talked about many hands. And again, it probably has to do with the 8 and a 6, right? It probably has to do with these cards to make a straight. It's not going to be ace, king, or king 10.
I want to say jack 9 suited.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer, although it's incorrect.
Then 10-9 suited.
Okay, that would be the correct answer. What card would 10-9 need for a straight?
It would need a 7.
Good. And you see, that's why it's a worse straight draw, because it only can improve with one card. Actually, it's half as good of a straight draw as open-ended straight draw. Okay, we went through most of those rows here. I mean, the last row is just over cards. Could you explain why overcards is considered a draw? Why do they say overcards is a draw?
Well, because they're looking for the other one. They're looking for an ace or a king, for example.
If you hit your overcard, what do you make? What are you drawing to with overcards?
You make top pair.
You make top pair, exactly. And top pair is often a pretty good hand, even though it's not as good as a flush or 2 pair or 3 of a kind. In this case, would it help them if they made top pair against your 8s?
No, it would not.
It would not. It's a dangerous draw, but a lot of people have belief in their overcards. I think you have that experience as well, that if someone had ace queen, they probably would hope that they could win if they made their ace or a queen. And not quite often you could, but it's a risky play.
To answer the question again, an overcard is a draw because it is a draw to top pair.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, very last thing here. I want to find the opponent's average hand, the median hand. You said king jack suited. I did say it's a pretty good answer, but I want to find something more accurate. For that, what I would do is start with the best hands and what percent we want to get to. if we want to get to the average or the median. What percent total we want to get to? If we think about the 20% best opponent's hand, would that give us their average hand? Or if we think about like overcards, which is 90%, what's the percent we would be looking to get to for the average percent?
If you want me to know what the average is, it should be 50, but I have no idea if that's the answer as you're looking.
That is the answer, exactly. What I'd like you to do is start adding together the best percentages for the opponent until we get to 50. Which percent should we start with?
Maybe 30%.
For pair, right? Okay, now we need how much more percent to get to the average?
We need 20 more.
We need 20 more. What's the next thing that you would look at here? If you didn't have a 30% pair here, what's the next best thing you would want to have?
An ace.
I wouldn't. What would I rather want to have? I mean, ace is fine, but I'd want something specific.
But I'm looking for something that's close to 50%.
No, the total percent is 50, right?
You want one pair plus something else.
Well, just for a small pause, is his average hand one pair, or is that too much?
No, his average hand would be an ace.
It would be less than one pair, right?
Ace is closer to 50% and one pair is closer to 30%.
Here's the thing, I'm looking
aces
for a combined percentage. I'm looking for a combined percentage.
But I don't understand how we can combine it. He can only have two cards.
What you're trying to find is the most popular thing the opponent can have. But I want to find what's the median. If you put all their hands in a row, aces number 1, kings number 2, and then his last hand would be Jack 9 or Queen 9, then what would be in the middle of that row? Where I would want it to go next is, if I wouldn't have a pair here, I would want the flush draw, right? I would want a flush draw more than just any ace. I think the flush draw is the second best thing here.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that or no? I would add now the flush draw percent to the pair percent.
Then we have 30%.
How much?
30. No, 40. 40%, sorry.
40, exactly. Now we're getting close to the average, but let's just take a moment to think about that. That's quite high, right? That 40% the opponent has a pair or a flush draw on this board. Does that sound strong?
Yes, it sounds strong.
Is it good news for your pocket eights then? Does it mean they can continue often?
Yes.
Okay, but we got to 40%. We need the extra 10% from something. And now we do probably have to go to the backdoor flush draw or the gut shot. These aren't super strong hands. Now I would go to ace high. Now here's the thing, however. What percent ace highs are out there?
43.
But how much of those ace highs will we need to get to the average? We're not gonna, if we take all of them, then we would go way above average.
We need 1 out of 4.
We need 1 out of 4. Now, for today, we're not gonna be super accurate with that. But if you look at all the ace that the opponent could have, what seems like a 1 out of 4 best ace they could? And recognize a lot of suited aces are 3 times more common. If you right-click on Ace King off for a moment, we use that tool once more. If you right-click on it, see how many. So it's a little difficult to look because there's also these rows with a box. But can you ignore the rows without the box and just see the inside where there's not the boxes, right?
Yes, I can.
How many boxes do you see there for heart, spade, spade, heart, all these boxes? How many inside boxes are here? 12, okay. Now, if you click on the ace king suited, how many inside boxes for ace king suited?
Just 4.
Just 4. So that means ace king off, also ace queen off, ace jack off are 3 times more common. If you have that in mind, and now look at all the ace that the opponent could have, what would be the top 1/4 or 1/4 ace? What sort of ace would be a decent answer?
Is the question which is the ace is more likely to come out, or is the question
No.
which ace do I need to make 10%?
Yes, exactly. Which ace do we need to make 10%? We're trying to find, you said it correctly. You said their average hand is ace high, but it's a big difference if that's ace 5 or if it's ace king or ace queen. we already got to 40% with a pair and a flush draw. And now we're only going to take the best 10% of ace, and then we get to the average, the median ace, their average hand here, essentially. What ace would make sense?
What ace would make sense? For 10%.
Well, for 10% of the 43% of the aces, essentially. How far down the aces we would go? If we start with ace king and we move towards ace 4, how far along that row we would go?
But I have to know that I have also to take in account ace king offsuit, ace queen offsuit, ace jack offsuit.
Yes, and these are worth 3 times as many steps, see, as every suited box. Exactly. That's a lot of movement if you just look at king off or ace queen off. Exactly.
Yeah, I would go for ace queen suited or ace jack suited. Maybe that gives 10%.
That's pretty good answer. Actually, it's almost ace king off. Ace queen, ace king off, somewhere there. Now, we just did a quick version of this, right? Especially for the first time we did exercise like this. But if you take their best 50% of hands, you end up around somewhere around ace king or ace queen with a backdoor flush draw or something like that, like ace king, ace queen. That's what their average is on this board.
But it has to be offsuit, not suited.
Well, in this case, is it better to have ace king offsuit or ace king suited spades?
I think it's better to have king suited or ace king offsuit. Which is better? And you give me the suit. You said the suit is spades.
I said spades for this example, yes. Would you care that there is suited if it's spades?
No,
Or if
I would
it's
not.
Exactly. Actually, it's better to have ace king with one heart, because that would be a backdoor flush draw. So ace king off could be better here, or it could be indifferent. We don't have to necessarily just start by taking ace king off, ace queen off, ace jack off.
You just say ace king offsuit is better because then there's a chance either ace or king has a heart. Is that what you're saying? Higher chance. 2 chances of making one heart.
Is essentially something like this. Not exactly, but something like this. Well, the thing is, ace king off could have no hearts. Then it's not going to be better than ace king of spades. It depends which ace king. Ace king of clubs suited is good. You have 3 clubs. That's a backdoor flush draw. King off with a heart is good. But you could have ace king off with no hearts. Then it doesn't matter if you have ace king of spades, a suited ace king, or ace king off.
But you still like the ace king off a little more than the ace king suited. You still like it a little more.
Well,
ace king suited clubs. Then you like ace king suited clubs more, of course. But if not, you like.
There's also ace king of hearts. There's also ace king of hearts, which is the best. So I still would take ace king suited. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of the times, there would be no difference.
Okay.
Now, why I wanted to do that is because it helps to put things into perspective a little bit. Now, if their opponent's median average hand is something like ace king, ace queen, and your initial thought, which, by the way, I thought king jack suited was closer to the truth than it actually ended up being, then I think the one summary I would do from this is, if someone opens under the gun +1 or under the gun +2, even though they're not going to have 8, 6, or a 2, they're going to have a lot of flush draws, they're going to have a lot of over pairs, and they're going to have hands like ace king, ace queen. There's a lot of reason to be cautious, I would say, in some sense.
In this case, we don't have to be, but normally we should be cautious. And why is it so hard? Because the flop doesn't look any scary. So why is it so hard? Because he can have an overpair and so on. The thing is, I don't know. For me, that flop doesn't look scary. So why should we be so scary? I know we talked about this a lot, but it still doesn't ring a bell to me. The flop doesn't look scary. It is scary because he has such a tight range. Why is it scary? Because the 8 to 6, it's a rainbow flop. No, it's not a rainbow flop because there are 2 hearts. But it is scary because he can make a flush. And a flush would be very scary. But I already have a heart. So I still don't understand why it's so scary. Is my heart not enough to make the risk a little down for the flush? His flush draw is only 11%, backdoor a little
Well,
higher.
again, I would say with pocket 8, you shouldn't be worried, but it's still a bit surprising that the average hand the opponent has here is something like ace queen. I think that's what you're wondering. How is it so strong? For that, could you do this thing? Could you right click on aces and choose the red color for it? Could you right click aces and choose red color and do the same for kings, queens, jacks? Do that for every pocket pair. I know it's a little annoying to go through all them like this. Or you can click try see what happens with eights. You see it's going to be lighter because there's no eights they can have. But switch it back to green as it's impossible to. And now on ace king suited, ace queen suited, click on one of the suited hands, click on any suited hand, right click on that box and choose the combination for pocket hearts, and now put it red as well. Put that hand in red. See now the lighter red is not influenced, but the darker red is 1/4 of this that's influenced. Could you do the same with ace king suited and the other suited hands as well? Click on hearts and click on the heart, make the box red as well. It's a little bit of mechanical work. I'm sure ChatGPT would be great to get through this. You see ace 8, why did ace 8 not have that red bar?
Because there's an 8 and
You already have that card. Maybe they make that green back to green as well. Ace 8. Yes. Okay. And now do the same with the suited kings as well. Make them red. Just a few more to go here. And choose the hearts as well. Don't just make them red, but choose any way you feel like it's the quickest to go through. This is actually quite quick how you go through it. Okay. And now do the last 6 boxes for queens and jacks and the suited hands there. Okay, thank you. Now, I know it was a lot of clicking here, but why I wanted to do that is now all the dark red you see is part of the best 40% of hands. It's the over pairs, the pocket pairs, not every over. Sevens is also there, but it has the nines, the kings, and then it has also 1/4 of each suited hand, well, almost all the suited hand, excluding ace 8, 9, 8. For all the other suited hands, it has 1/4 of that. And all the dark red now adds up to 40%. Why I wanted to do that is maybe now it visually helps to show why the opponent's average hand is strong on this board. Does it help or not help? Or was it a waste of time coloring these boxes?
what are you showing me? That all those hands are dangerous?
All those hands.
Can he win with those hands against my 3 of a kind?
Well, the thing is, against your hand, nothing is super dangerous. You have the best hand on this board, right? But what I'm trying to show is why his average hand is as strong as ace king or ace queen. And if you had something like, if you just had a 6, if you had pocket 5s, if you had something like ace 10, why there would be a lot to worry about. That's what I'm trying to show. And I'm trying to show why his average hand isn't king jack suited, but it's more close to ace king or ace queen. And even though the opponent doesn't have 8, 6 or a 2, because the opponent plays few hands and only plays the strongest hands from early position, they're still gonna have a lot of good hands even without an 8, 6 or a 2. That's what I'm trying to show.
It's hard for me to understand why his average hand would be ace king or ace queen, because I know we went through it. But it's true that it sounds really strong, especially when I tell myself he could have jack 9 suited. So how come the jump is so high?
Okay, good. I understand your question now. Okay. It has to do with combinations. Now, can you right click on pocket 9s? Again, if we look at the inside box, how many different ways someone could be dealt pocket 9?
6.
6. Okay. Now with 8, that was 12. Let's remember these numbers for off-suited hands. And in this case, what's the weakest off-suited hand the opponent could have?
Nearly every hand is suited. The only hand that is off-suited is ace jack offsuit.
Ace queen, ace king as well. The weakest would be ace jack, right? Okay, pocket 9s had 6 combinations, 6 ways you could have pocket 9s. For ace jack, how many different ways is inside ace jack off?
12 again.
12. Now, that means how much more likely you're getting dealt ace jack off than pocket 9. If one was 6, other was 12.
Twice as likely.
Twice as likely. Here's, I think, the problem for why you think the average should be lower. In this range chart, it looks like every box is equal size. Is the box for pocket 9s any different than for ace jack?
No, you perfectly explained the issue, Norman. You perfectly did. I understand now. It's just that there are a lot of hands that I don't see because they are just different combinations of suits. And all those hands are on ace king offsuit, ace queen offsuit, and ace jack offsuit, but I don't see them because they're not represented on this board. That's why I put the average hand lower. If I would see them, I would put it higher. You're correct on that.
Exactly.
You're correct
Now,
on
if
that.
you click on something like King 10 suited, and we're gonna exclude hearts because that's a very good hand. Right click on King 10 suited. If we exclude hearts, which is a flush draw, which is a good hand, how many other ways would be there to have this King 10 suited?
3 ways.
3 ways. Now, pocket 9s was how many ways?
Pocket 9 was 6 ways.
Pocket 9s is how much more likely than King 10 suited?
Twice as likely.
Okay, and ace jack off was how many times more likely than pocket 9s?
Twice.
Actually, that means that you're 4 times more likely to have ace jack off or ace king off than to have king 10 of spades, clubs, or diamonds. Even though it takes
you said how many times more?
I said 4 times.
4 times, because the double will give me pocket 9s and one more double will give me
Exactly.
ace king offsuit. That's why it's 4 times.
Exactly.
We cannot just compare 3 to 12. If I make 12 divided by 3, I have the same answer. I'll get 4.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great, Norman. You are an awesome teacher.
Thank you. I do think we did a lot of work with this, and I think you did well today. I think one thing I wanted to say before is that I asked some simple questions. The thing is, I don't know which question will be simple or obvious and which one won't. For me, who's been in poker so many years, it's not always obvious what is obvious and what can be not so obvious. That's why I maybe ask too many dumb questions today.
No. You never ask dumb questions. I like all your questions, Norman. But that's a very interesting thing you just said. Because I think of my piano teacher, an exercise he wanted me to do. Are we finished with that? Can I switch on your screen?
You can stop for today, that's all. And then it doesn't have to be next week, but I think every couple of weeks we'll do this work. Maybe we'll use some hand you played. That would be great, right? The hand for your review, where we look at hand you have in Poker Tracker, and then we do this analysis. That makes sense, right? Something like that. But I think we did a big step forward with this technical side of poker today and understanding all these things, at least seems like to me. You wanted to say something about your piano teacher.
About what you teach. And for example, my ex-piano, I don't know if normally I'm supposed to see him again, but I'll get a new one because I want somebody with a diploma and a little better. For example, he taught me a little exercises. And the exercises, you play the same piece, but you totally change the rhythm. And the thing is, for me, it's hard to change totally the rhythm because it's not the same rhythm that it is written in. And it's very hard for my brain to really change, to play the same notes, but totally change the rhythm. And it's already hard for me to make one of those changes, metamorphosis, transform it into something else. Already once changing the rhythm is hard. But he then gives me 5 or 10 other ways to change the rhythm, one after the next. And I'm like, sounds great, but I barely can do one of them. How I'm gonna do all those exercises, even with you assisting me, I barely managed to change rhythm in one way. How I'm gonna change it in 4 or 5 ways, and it's very difficult to remember to make that change. For my brain, it's just hard. If you do it all the time and you have done it your entire life, then it's very easy. But for me, it's hard to make that change. If the piece was written in one of those versions, then it would be easy because that's how I learned the piece. But if I have to myself make all those changes, for me, it's a little hard. Even when he sits next to me and helps me and guides me through it, The thing is, there's no point in telling me 5 or 10 way of metamorphosing the piece if I barely can do one of them, and that even with his assistance. Sometimes people, for them, it's hard to see with what we really struggle and then don't give way too much. It's like if you teach math, maybe don't start with talking about what happens when you go to infinity plus and infinity minus and I don't know what. But there are very difficult stuff with functions then you can do, where you start, how does the math start to behave when you go close to infinity? Well, those questions, even if you're good at math, are hard. But if somebody is already hard for him to make some basic algebra, then maybe don't start talking about how math changes its behavior when we go close to infinity. I mean, those questions are interesting, but I don't think the student will be capable to do that at that level. And it's the same for me. For me, it's hard to make one metamorphose of the rhythm of the piece, then I won't be able to do 20. There's no point in teaching me 20 different ways of changing the rhythm if I already struggle with one of them. You are great, because for you, it might be the same. You don't know what is hard actually for me and what needs more time and what I get easier. But just do as you did today. And we talk then about the stuff that it's hard for me to understand, just as we did today. I think we did great in that regard. And you were very attentive on my questions and my replies. Try to answer them the best you could. I really appreciated that, Norman.
Thank you. That's great to hear. And well, I would recommend something that if you work again with that piano teacher, to ask for easier exercises. I think you can always do that. Sometimes it's tough for the other person to notice that.
I can do any of those exercises, but I only can do one. I cannot do 5 or 10. That's the thing. Don't give me too much. And the thing is, it is not written. I have to keep it all in memory and then do it when I practice. And it's hard for me already to remember one of those things in memory, because he doesn't give me a piece of paper where it says he would have to rewrite the entire piece to do that. And that would take an eternity to do. I have to remember all that. And it's just, for him, sometimes it's hard to put himself in my shoes. But it's because he has less experience in teaching and he's not a professional piano teacher. Normal teachers are awesome. For example, the teacher I had, who I contacted and we talked about it, my teacher, Kenya, who is a teacher of conservatorium here in a city close to mine. She was awesome, because when I came to her and I said, today I can't play, I don't feel well, she always laughed and said, okay, we try. Or when I tell her, that is too hard, I won't be able to do it, she just says, okay, let's try. And she explains to me and then she laughs. She tells me, look, you just did it, so don't worry. Or when I say I am too depressed, I feel too bad to play the piano, she says, let's just try 5, 10, 15 minutes and see how it goes. And at the end, I can do much more than I actually thought. It was great in that because she always managed to push me beyond what I thought I was capable of.
Great. I think it was pretty good lesson today. I don't think I'm always as good as a teacher, but it's like with anything that I also learn teaching by giving these lessons. And I've been thinking that I know there's some poker teachers, but they're usually all very high level, who are very like $500 an hour and stuff like that. And I don't think they teach as often as I do. I think they might teach like a couple of times a week. I teach couple of times every day, essentially. I was thinking there might be very few people who have as many lessons they've given with teaching poker. I think there's not too many people who would teach poker with so many hours a month. I think that's helped me in a way. Obviously, I don't have any education in teaching from a university, although now I think about it, maybe I should take an online course on teaching. That would probably be good for me. That's the idea you gave me now, that it could be helpful.
You're already an awesome teacher, the best I ever had. I don't think you can do much more, but you can always improve. So if you want to work on your art, you can always improve. I just had one small question. Since how many years do you teach? Because I think you do it for quite some time now.
I think my first experience was with my friend in December 2021, maybe 22, like the whole year 23, 24, and now we're 3/4 of 25, maybe 3.5 years, something like that.
Well, the most important thing is, I guess, that you still find it interesting and you still enjoy it. I think that's the most important. Because sometimes people do something, but they get bored of it and then they stop. And I really appreciate having you as a teacher. I hope we'll find a way to keep working for a long time. I hope you don't stop tomorrow.
I didn't have it planned, but you never know what can happen in life. I haven't thought about, but you're right. If it was boring for me, I wouldn't have done it. I guess I like poker. That's one thing that helps. And it's quite interesting to talk with people from different countries, cultural backgrounds, even though I wouldn't say I'm like very much like supporter of all this multiculturalism or all these things, and see a lot of issues with just people being deported and living in cultures they're not used to and all of that. I still think it's extremely valuable to meet and to get to know people from different cultures. That's keeping me interested, because people are different if they're from Switzerland or Canada or Saudi Arabia or Thailand or wherever.
I think we're very close on that subject. I never had an issue with anybody. Now, it's true that I'm a little worried about monotheistic religions. But it's not that I don't like them. It's just I think that sometimes it's a psychological thing. Why does a religion exist at the first place? We could talk about that. But the thing is, to come back to the subject, actually, it is just, I have nothing against anybody. I just don't like when the state gets involved and then suddenly get mass immigration and all the culture of the country that existed before vanishes. I don't like the involvement of the state. And I think if the state wouldn't promote that, we wouldn't get so many of them. And that's the issue I'm with. But the people, as long as they are not overwhelming, I have nothing against it. If they're totally overwhelming, well, then we disappear and they take our place. That's an issue if you want to preserve your language, your tradition, your culture. That's an issue. I don't hate the people. And I find it as you interesting to meet other peoples. And a lot of people here, foreigners, are awesome. They are nice. It's great to meet them. They often are more happy because they're all happy that they came to this country and that they meet people from that country. There's a lot to say for them in their favor. It's just all the political stuff that goes with it. And they really push it in our face, and I don't like that. But apart from that, I have nothing to say. And with monotheistic religions, well, religions, it's a psychological thing, and I want actually to talk about that a little more in my videos. But I have to be very careful. A religion is people start behaving in a certain way, and it is to actually form bonds, to make them be more alike, that they all resemble themselves. They go through circumcision or anything else, but they do those kinds of things. They get a sense of brotherhood, but it can be very dangerous because sometimes they do stuff that is against people who aren't in the group. They discriminate against people who aren't in the group. And then they might even do horrible things against people who are outside of that group. And sometimes these actions are so horrible that everybody starts hating them. And then they even unite even more. I don't have the right words now because I have to work on it a little more. But from a psychological point of view, it can be dangerous, monotheistic religions, because they have a mentality where it's always them against everybody else. And that's a very dangerous thing to be in, especially if you get in power and you can wage war and discriminate against everybody who is not like you. I don't like that, and I find that dangerous. But that has nothing to do with the people themselves. The people themselves, I always look at them as an individual. Now, you are an individual, but if you adhere to something like Islam, Judaism, or even Christianity, if you adhere to that, then you adhere normally to a certain number of rules and behaviors. And normally it's not an issue. But if you only do it with us against everybody else, then it gets dangerous, in my opinion. Does it make any sense? I'll do some more research on that subject and maybe I talk about it and maybe I come back to you and try to be more precise in what I'm saying.
I do think it makes sense. A lot of this feels unnatural, how people are being moved. It's a lot of politics and it doesn't seem like, how did people move previously? I think they just moved around and maybe moved somewhere neighboring country or something like that, where cultures are more similar. There wasn't like where people can come from Afghanistan and then be moved to Sweden. It's a lot of mixing up. And then politicians, it sometimes feels like every decision is so easy for a politician. At least that's what I've been thinking, that in business, if you do a bad decision, you go bankrupt and everything's over. For politician, it seems like they can do any decision, see what happens, and then just do another decision. At least sometimes it feels like that. One thing I thought reading your book, I did read a lot of pages recently. I'm closing in on finishing it in a few weeks, I think. I was thinking how each passage, especially now in the middle of the book, the passages are way longer, but even the shorter passages, they could actually, I feel like each of them is like a separate entity or story, which could be made into a YouTube short or made into a YouTube video. Have you thought of that, to make a book into small videos?
Actually, Sommerkand is enough in there to do that. And
that would also to promote the book, I think, if you put that in there somewhere.
I could. And I hope once I publish the next one, you take a look at it, because it's a little different. And in the way I present the passages, I use actually the most striking difference is that I use much more titles and explanation of what I talk about. It is more systematic. So first point, second point, third point, that changes a little. And I think the new format might be interesting and adding something to it. I hope you'll also take a look at my new book once it's published.
All right.
My fifth one. Norman, and the point I want to say with the politicians, I adhere 100% to what you said. When a political leader makes a mistake, he never pays the price for his mistake. He can indefinitely keep doing mistakes, he never pays the price. The issue is the only people who really pay the price is we and the citizens, but he never pays the price of his mistakes. And that's a very perverse thing to be in, because then why would you avoid the mistakes if you don't get any bad feedback from them? That's very dangerous.
Back in the day, they did use guillotines.
That was great. I agree with that. To go back to anarchy, on the anarchy, there's no magical line. Everybody can come to Switzerland and everybody can stay in Switzerland on the anarchy. But Switzerland is a very developed country and it's very expensive to be here. Unless you manage somehow to make enough money, or you already have enough money, you couldn't stay indefinitely. There would be no helping hand to set you up or anything else, unless there are some citizens of the country who want to do that. But I know of nobody who does such a thing. That's the thing. I think naturally on the anarchy, those people wouldn't overwhelm us. They would only come if they can integrate the society. And then I'm 100% for it.
It's up on them to make that effort, really. I feel like that's what is missing currently, to me.
It's, on the anarchy, it's up to them to make that effort. It's up to them to be able to integrate a new society. We're correct of that. It's great that we agree so well on the subject. Thank you, Norman. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'm looking forward to see you next week. I'll try to play, and I hope I can mark more hands than this week. I hope I manage to find the hands and mark them. A couple of times I tried and I couldn't find the hands I wanted to mark. But I hope I'll play more. It depends. If the hand doesn't talk to me, then I won't mark it. But if I see something interesting, I hope I can keep marking a couple of hands that we can look at the beginning, and then maybe we do the same thing or whatever you find interesting. Any final thoughts? Any remarks to close our session today?
I think went quite well. I think no problem in that. We've done a lot of lessons with hand reviews, and you've been so diligent with marking hands for review. Sometimes even like you have more hands that we've been able to review in our meetings. So I don't think it's a big problem if you, whatever reason, are marking less hands and in the near future, or can be play less in that. There's other things we could do in our meetings, like what we did today. But if you can mark more hands, obviously, I think that's good. As it's a very actionable advice, I feel like that's something that could immediately change something in the way you play, which sometimes is helpful. But sometimes lessons like this, I think, are lessons like today are good, which it's tough to see how you can immediately implement some of these things. But over time, it should really deepen your understanding of every situation. Well, I guess I'm not a very strict teacher in this way. I won't be mad if you haven't reviewed any hand or haven't marked any hands for review. But end on a different note, I've been quite sick actually today and yesterday, but I felt better and better as the lesson went on. Thank you for that. And I'm already looking forward to meeting you next week.
Awesome, Norman. I really enjoyed our lesson. Thanks for everything. It was very interesting. There's nothing more I can say. Take care. I hope your health gets fast back and that you still can do something. I think it's the end of summer at your place also. I think already the temperature are much colder now where you are. I hope you also find some time to go outside and get a little sun before the real winter begins.
Yes, I will try that. Actually, I'm going to do it now as I have another lesson in 55 minutes, but I can use that the sun's out right now. I think that might be good for my health to take a small walk. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, Norman. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.